kind of dashboardy things at the top of the board. So just our rolling agenda. We don't need to keep pasting that every time. Some key links up here. We'll continue to keep that as a spot for anything that you want to look at. So we have our mural, our Zen board, if you want to see live action, us moving our tickets around and developing those. So recap of the project sprints here. Excuse me, I'll close that. Our problem statement that we continue to work towards, the Scrum delivery model, if you need to have that as a reference, some strategic opportunities, work on the personas, our triplex metaphor, and we'll just keep posting things that are meaningful to us up here for reference. And then below, you will see our current sprint. And before we jump in, I just wanted to say that we are at 12 weeks. We have been doing this for 3 months now. And it is just a really good time to kind of check in. And I personally want to say that I'm extremely proud of our team and the ministry for supporting all this work. There's been a ton of unknowns, brand new technology, brand new devs, brand new leadership in some of the departments. And I feel like everyone's been really corralling around and supporting this initiative. And I just personally wanted to say, like, congratulations. We've done a ton of good work, and we will continue to do so. And we just really thank you for your trust and support. With that, Elise, did you want to add anything to that?
Only 3 months.
Well, we started January 21st with Sprint 1.
Yeah. So, I mean, we did stand up our new dev team the beginning of December. So for folks that are counting that, yes, those are some extra times. But Sprint 1 started on the 21st of January. So it's been a journey so far, and we've made a lot of progress. And super excited to see how we continue to move forward. And yeah, I think I really appreciate your comment, Michelle, about just thanking everyone for hanging in there, because this is different. We're asking you to trust us and to keep moving forward when sometimes you don't know what that next step looks like. And that's part of Agile. So just really appreciate folks coming along for the journey.
Yes, awesome. Thank you, Elise. So we'll just kick it off here with what the goals were for Sprint 6. I'll let you continue with the microphone there.
Sounds good. Thanks. So yeah, and just a reminder for folks, we're going to go through all of this. And so if you have questions or thoughts in the meantime, please add them to the chat or make a note. And as always, we will make sure that at the end we are sharing information. And just a reminder for folks that we are recording this, and the recordings it's really cool. If you've ever watched a recording, it totally works in all the ways that matter. So would encourage folks to use that if they can. So just a reminder, we are in Sprint 6. Sprint 6, our goal for Sprint 6 was that, remember in Sprint 5, we had a major decision to make, a technical decision. And so we made that decision. And so Sprint 6 is about starting to get the technology pieces in place behind the scenes. We've referred to it as the plumbing, so that we can start again with some of those forward-facing pieces. So get ready to get back to Matt and the other student personas, pardon me. As well, we've also built the ability. So what we showed you in the previous sprints was kind of in the front, here's what it's going to look like, but we didn't have the guts in the background. Now we've got the guts in the background, so we need to go back and just make sure that it's all connected there. So with Matt and with Zoe, the two personas that we're working with. So that's what a lot of this sprint has been focused on, is building the background. So you may see some things today that you go, didn't we already see that? And yes, you did, but now it's actually connected. Before it was kind of just on the top layer there. We've also spent a lot of time in this sprint. Our goal was to work on the UX UI work around, particularly focused on the institution user's journey and beginning that designation workflow. And we've started with the goals of starting to have a conversation about education program, and reminder that that was one of our strategic opportunities and our largest strategic opportunity where we anticipate the most change. So we've started to understand what those changes are and get a handle on that. So that's what we were going to do this sprint. So let's talk a little bit about some behind the scenes business context so that we make sure that everyone's up to speed. And in the questions, please note if there's other ones. I was just trying to think of what are the big things that people need to know in order to understand some of the decisions that we've made. First of all, that all of the existing institution accounts in our CRM, Microsoft Dynamics 365, are going to be migrated over to the new system. So people that are accessing the CRM will be able to access our new system on day one. We also have made some decisions about the structure in collaboration with the institutions and program team around how those accounts are going to be organized. And we have decided that every institution will have, and I'm using my hands because it helps me, an account, and then every account will have one or more locations. So Bob's Hair School has an account and they also have a location. Even if they're only one school, they only have one location. Spratshaw, great example, may have a head office, which is their account, and they might have multiple locations. And their head office is for Jim, who owns 4 Spratshaws. Sarah, who owns 3, will have a separate account and separate locations. We made a decision to extend designation agreements that are going to be signed for August 1st and later, to extend those to 2 years so that we can minimize the amount of work we have to do in the old system once we go live. So once we go live, new institutions that are looking to be designated are going to come in through the new system door. And what that means is that the only piece of work once we go live that's going to be left behind in the old system will be those designation agreements that are signed from August 1st until go live. So we're really trying to minimize the amount of work for institutions and for staff to have to work in 2 systems. And of course, we've had a series of Mod Mini projects. We have a few of them that are still running, but the largest project, which has been focused on program, study period, course load, we've been able to make some real advancements, and we're going to continue to move forward. There's still work to be done there. So there'll be some more project work, and there'll be a team stood up for that. But the key decisions about how we're going to manage program by differentiating have been made, and we'll be starting to reflect those to the development team so that we can start to build with a new future state in mind. So we're going to talk more, but my usual reminder that you're going to see spelling mistakes. You're going to see, there's one spot I think that just says, hey, this is a dashboard. So it's not done, but we're starting to build that structure. So please give us that grace to let us know, but that it's not perfect. And we're going to work on those things as we get a little further along. So thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to pass it over.
Hey, so for those of you who I haven't met yet, I am Courtney and I'm part of the UX UI team. And I'm here to talk about a really exciting part that we are figuring out right now, which is the institution user roles. So just before we get into this, I just wanted to set the stage. The problem with the user roles is we have such a wide variety of types of clients that we're trying to fill a need for. So we have people that have small locations with limited employees. That's just their one location and they maybe offer one program, to massive companies that have hundreds or dozens of locations with hundreds of employees, and we need to find a solution that will work for all of these different types of institutions. And so what we're trying to do and what we've been working on is trying to find the solution that is best for everybody. So what that means is it may not be a perfect fit for everyone, but the situation and the rules that we're building will make it so that everybody can do the job that they need to do. So how I like to say it is we're giving the institutions the colors to paint with. They're painting the picture. Everyone's picture will look different. We're just providing the shades and they're figuring out what works best within their institution. And so similar to how previously Schwenker has talked about the plumbing and Elise has talked about the different keys to get into the doors, we're going through a lot of construction. We're having a lot of things happening at our house. So what we're going to do is we're actually, for the first time in quite a long time, we're going to go on vacation. I haven't been on vacation for a very long time, and I just want to, everyone just mentally, we are going to a hotel. Remember hotels? So for the use of the roles, we're going to talk about the types of people that you'll find in hotels to make it a little bit easier to understand the types of roles that we're building for the new institution portal. So when we're checking into the hotel, we walk into the lobby, we step in, and we see people who they booked on a budget site. So they booked through TripAdvisor, Travelocity. They're very deal focused. And so what they've done is they've booked a room that just allows them to get into the room. So they can look at the continental breakfast, but they can't eat it. They can see the pool, but they're not allowed to swim in it. They have a room, they're allowed to be in the hotel, they can look around, but for their day-to-day, they're more interested in seeing the city. So it's not important for them to be able to access all of these things. They just need to see what they need to see, maybe snap a selfie, and then hit the streets. So this is similar to our read-only persona, our read-only role. And these are the people that just need to be able to see everything. They don't need to actually be able to do everything. The users, these are the people that they upgraded. They got the package. They want access. Being in the hotel is the main reason why they've gone on vacation. They're hitting the continental breakfast. They're swimming in the pool. They're hitting the spas. They have access to all of the amenities, but only the things that their key will allow them into. They can't get into access that nobody has given them the ability to get into. So the key is depending on what doors they can get into, but they're able to, once they're in those doors, they're able to do whatever they want. So both the read-only and user, so our budget travelers and our package travelers, they've been able to access certain doors and do different levels of things within it. So the users are the people who are doing things like Appendix 3s, confirmation of enrollments, just the more day-to-day operations. They live and breathe within the partner portal. Now, when we're talking again about the hotel, who has the ability to go into any room they want and also determine who gets access to what room? That's the person at the front desk. When you go and check in, they tell you what rooms you're allowed to go into. They program your card, and they also are able to get into every room they want. So they have the power to go everywhere, but the majority of their function is managing who goes where. So similar to our portal account, like a front desk person, even though they have access to do everything, their primary function is managing the team, making sure check-ins, check-outs are happening when they're necessary. They're responsible for saying where people can go and where they can't go. But sometimes they want to make a special deal. They want to help someone out, but they don't have the power to do that without the authorized signer. Sometimes they got to call the additional person in to get that extra signature or code or card swipe, because they're not able to give someone a deal without getting that additional sign. So similar to our portal, the authorized signer is the person who comes, they have the same permissions as the administrator, but they are the only ones that are allowed to sign, for example, the designation agreement. They are the legal signers and the ones who are able to say, yep, this is correct. So when we talk about all of these hotel guests, I hope I'm not losing you with my spiel, but we're talking about 4 distinct roles. Read only, you can look around, but only at the location level. User, you can work and do your job, but again, only at the location level. The administrator can access all of the locations as well as manage the people within those locations. And the authorized signer is just like the administrator, but they're the only person that can legally sign into the contract for the designation agreement. So
Awesome.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions about this, and we can talk about it as we go through our personas. While we're going through different workflows, we're going to see how these roles will start to develop. So definitely love to talk to everyone about how this works later on.
Thank you so much, Courtney. That was a lot of fun to carry us through that journey. And it really speaks to one of our core principles, which is simplify and enable self-service to our institution. So appreciate you taking a lot of something's happening. Who's touching Figma link? I see. Thanks, Ruth. Taking all the good work and analysis that was done in the previous iteration and looking for ways of how we can simplify it to help the user journey there. Thank you very much. So now I see Ruth pasting links into the mural board because we're assuming you cannot see the designation workflow draft below. So he's likely going to share his screen. Is that right, Roop? Where'd you go?
That is correct. My goodness, that is a really long link. Hang on one sec, sorry. I figured I would bop this in here, so let me just do that again. One sec, sorry guys.
What I will say is the team is, this is still a draft and they're still working out the kinks. It is landing though, so feel free to take a look and dive in deep if you like. Once Roop gets his link in there. Perfect, thanks Roop.
All right, that's the first time I've ever pasted a link, as you can tell, so we did it. That's great. Okay, so next, I think we want to go through this designation workflow. So we met with the business area on this, and I think we had a great conversation. What this spurred was last week, we did a bit of a prioritization to make sure that we hit this goal today so that we could share with you a workflow that is more fulsome and complete and what will be in reality. So I'm going to share my screen here just so we can zoom on in. Alrighty. So as mentioned, the concierge role or the admin role is going to be something that is handled by a persona that we have right now, who is named Zoe. And so Zoe is an administrator at an institution, and she's getting her institution onboarded to StudentAid BC so that students can receive funding. So at this stage, I'm just going to walk through what she's going to be doing.
Could you make it just a little bit bigger, Roop? Sorry, apologies.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
to begin, is that good there? Okay. To begin right now, so as the initial admin through the door, to give some context, what she's going to be doing prior to getting here is creating a BC EID organization for her institution. And then she's going to be adding, she'll be what's called the property account manager, I believe it's called. It might be something similar to that. But what she can do is, again, be able to create users within the BC EID organization. And in doing so, she can create an account for, let's say, the legal signing authority of the institution, who is our persona named David, who you'll meet later in this workflow. So now that we've got David has created an account, let's say for this case that Zoe is the primary account contact for the locations and institution. She's in there as well. So all the people who need BC IDs to work through this now have them. So what she's going to do is she's going to create a little bit of a profile for herself, just confirming her name and her email address. And then she's going to begin creating the institution information profile. So the basic institution information, selecting a primary contact, selecting the institution's primary legal contact. And that's important because later on in this, if they are a BC private institution, it's going to require signing of a designation agreement. So that's why it's important to have that selected. And then she's also going to just be putting in some basic information about different campuses, let's say they might have, all the locations, just making sure they're all in there in the institution's profile. Next, she's just going to, let's say if she had multiple locations, she's going to select which locations she wants to apply for designation to. So let's say they had campus A, B, and C, but only A and B require designation. Maybe campus C exists only as an office, but it's in here. So you would select those two. And now the next step is we need to add the education program to each location. Each location that's becoming designated requires just one education program off the bat to get in the door. So then she would enter in all of those fields for that education program. It's a long list. There you go. So she'll do that. And then she's also going to maybe potentially copy this same program to another location as an example. We're going to allow for that functionality in the future. Next, she's going to confirm the submission, just confirm that she's ready to submit this, give us a little bit of information about the privacy disclaimer and what designation is, and then she's going to hit submit. And at that point, it kicks off a StudentAid BC process, but we'll get into that in a second. So the next step is we're going to allow, at this point, trying to get ahead of the game here, if she has more users within her organization in BCEID, she as an admin can start assigning those roles. So we can assign that tourist role, which is the read-only view, to some people, or she can even give that that user role so that they can do things such as confirm enrollments, things like that, into the locations. She can also select which locations they have those roles at for any of those users. So now we're at a StudentAid BC process kind of fork in the road. And that is, does this institution require a designation agreement to be signed? So sure, maybe that's the case. In this case, it is. They've decided that that is the case. So David has been assigned as the legal signing authority. And so what we're going to do is we're going to email a notification to David. We have his email address. We have an ability to email that to them so that he can come back in and log in himself and complete this process. So David's going to come back to our system, sign in, read a privacy disclaimer and a declaration, and he's going to e-sign the agreement. Now, big yellow box here. This process isn't really, it's not consistent across the board, depending on if you're a BC private or an out-of-province institution or even an international institution. What we're thinking is that legal signing authority still has legal signing authority. So what we're saying is we can still prompt them, even if it's not a designation agreement, but just kind of letting them know that, hey, because you're going to be doing business with us, there's a bit of a process here, and we want to ensure that potentially in this next step, that you ensure that it's up to you and your organization to make sure things are above board and that users are doing what they should be. In the process as it was at the end of our conversation, we then stated that he can then confirm all those things that Zoe did, so all the users that she assigned. And then finally, the process is complete. Life can go on. Students can receive funding. Yeah, that's the overall designation onboarding process. So the two sides of it, on either side of this StudentAid BC process of kind of confirming that designation, is all of this happens over here. This is Zoe, our administrator. And then it gets passed off to all of these steps over here, which are now David, who is the legal signing authority, kind of a step up in that admin role. So that's the institution onboard and designation workflow. It used to be a designation application. Now we're thinking of it more as a set up the profile for your entire institution. It's no longer a paper process. So we're just saying, set up your profile and you're either going to be let in the door or not. And yeah, that's how this all works. There's going to be no emailing back and forth where we need to receive information and input it into our databases manually. All of this will happen within our system, saving a lot of administrative time for staff.
Thank you, Roop. I appreciate that you guys have done a lot of work on heavy lifting on this over the last 3 weeks. So a lot of really good thinking there, and understand that there's still some tweaks that need to be made and adjusted, but definitely headed in a great direction. There's a lot to chew on there, so moving forward, we're going to be breaking it into manageable chunks. So you won't see the whole onboarding designation workflow coming developed all at once. You'll see like add locations page or add a user page, one bite at a time. So thanks for providing that overview. Now going to reshare my screen. I always forget to do that. I'll pass the mic over to Andrew Schwenker, who's going to talk about some of the architectural decisions and setup they've been working on over the last 2 weeks.
Sure. So the biggest change from what we went over last week is no drastic architectural changes. This sprint's mostly been about starting to use that architecture that we landed on last week. So that's more or less it for the actual architecture setup, because most of it was sort of there, but now it's like, okay, we started using it a little more. So that's what you'll see the devs demoing in a few minutes here. Just a couple of things that we've also been doing. We completed the save functionality, but it's not fully implemented yet. So we did that just to basically think about how we built it and then if that was the right approach, but everything's saved. So once we actually decide to implement it, we are ready to go. And then what we've also been doing is working with one of the vendor teams that is currently working with SABC and a couple other ministries. That is AOT, that's the forms flow team with them. And they've just been helping us out, doing some training with us, answering some of our questions about how to use it and make sure we're using it correctly, making sure the data flow is flowing the right way, and different options of using the solution. Because as we went over last time, there are an almost unlimited amount of options for using this solution, and we just want to make sure that we're consistent and doing things correctly and obeying to best practices. So that's mostly it there.
Right, and I just wanted to remind the room that what Schwenker was speaking about is the Forms IO solution. It is how to manage the forms dynamically and integrated closely with our rules engine. And if what I just said was like, that's what he's referring to.
Yeah, and we can put a link back in there to the last sprint review where it has a bit of the outline.
Yeah, just to remind you all. Okay, so yeah, so they've been spending a lot of time in training on that solution and learning a lot, because they've dedicated about 2 hours of training per day plus a bunch of development activities, of which I'm going to pass over to Pushan. But first, we'll just give you an overview of some of the things that we did manage to develop as part of our product review today. So Matt, our student persona, he can save his financial application, but to Schwenker's point, it's not fully integrated yet, but he can save it. He can submit his application, and with that, we can see things that mandatory fields, he's alerted to mandatory fields that he has not filled out yet before he can submit. Switching gears to institutions, Zoe cannot log in with basic BCID. She is told, no, you must go get a business BCID. An institution user can subsequently log in. So now that they've created their account, the next time they log in, they bypass all those steps and can go straight to the dashboard, which has not yet been developed yet, but they get streamlined to the dashboard. And also, we've managed to, I did nothing. The team managed to refactor the solution to the new Forms IO solution. So basically, it looks exactly the same, but it's in a new tool. Did I miss anything, guys? I get a thumbs up from Schwenker, so that means I'm doing a good job. Okay, all right, Pushan, take it away.
Yeah, hello, good morning. So let me share my screen and start. 1 minute. So can you see my screen, guys?
Yes, we can.
Yep.
Okay, so basically this overall, the feature of Safe Draft, it's underdeveloped and it's not yet available of any of our environment. So currently I'm demoing from my local machine, and this is regarding the student. So basic idea is sometime we start filling up forms and other inputs. So we should have some save draft feature. It will save the draft as it is, and later means after login sometime after closing browser, we can come back and we can continue unfinished job. So that is the main idea behind this overall feature, but currently the feature is underdeveloped. I just want to demo how this feature will look like. So basically I'm logging into our student SABC application as a student, and I am using one of our test account right now. I'm not using, because this is my local environment, that's why I'm not using any of our the persona account. And this is after logging into the application. We can go and we can dynamically load that particular test form where we put our save draft feature. It's not available for every input. So this is a draft. I think we demoed this draft application form in last sprint review. So basically, if user without submitting, if they do some of this answer, and currently we put a button, but in past we trying to make it fully automated. So if they do a save a draft, so draft is saved, and if they refresh, basically refreshing means we are reloading the whole application, and after reloading the application, their work is already saved. And also we have a clear draft feature. Right now you don't know what will be the the invocation point for clear draft, but if you clear draft, your draft will be cleared, and next time if you refresh your page, you don't see anything fill up, and that is completely temporary. So basically when you submit your application or submit your form, then draft feature will be not available. So basically it will help you to save your application and continue later. Yeah, that's it. That is the save draft we are currently carrying on, and in future you will see more feature on that. Okay, that's it.
Thanks, Pushan. And now we're going to pass it over to Andrew Signori, who's going to show us what submit looks like.
Hello then. I'm gonna share the screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Cool. So I am already logged in. That is what I'm gonna present is basically the application form built dynamically with the new Form.io framework. And the idea is present what we used to have before in the previous sprints, with some additional validations that are not final. So the layout's not final, is a little bit different from before, but it's not final. And we have like some fields in addition to the previous one. So that looks similar in terms of some components, but the styling is different. So here we have again the application, we have like a workflow kind of thing. we have the same fields here from before, but in a different way. So we have the student confirming their data. We have the basic questions, the same as before, but in a dynamic way. That means that we can add and remove questions or items here, like a new status, or when you have like the aboriginal status here or types, we can add them dynamically. What we have now is more validations happening. So it's happening on next. There is no requirement right now for that. So we are just like showing the capabilities. And we can see when I press next here, it triggers the validations as a summary and also individual ones. So I basically need to go through them. I'm not answering the best way, just putting something here. And all is clear, so I can go next. Okay, so every time that I press next, new validations are going to be displayed, and I'm going to go through the questions, answer. One thing to note is that I'm going to skip this one that has some validations. I'm going to go for the last one directly, and I'm going to try to submit. Now I got the validations issues from here and from the previous page. If I click the messages are not final also. If I click the first one, this one is from the financial information. What's going to happen is that the user is going to be redirected to the financial information and pointed to the right place. So he can click here and he's going to be navigate back and forth to wherever he needs to fix. Here we have requirements like not display the decimals here, so it's working. And some other fields, we have it them being dynamically available or not, based on the questions. This is like a decimal field, but here we can add some cents. Once it's done, we can advance if we provide all the fields. You see when I click here, it's also automatically adding, removing things there. When I put it here, it's going to be removed. So 2 bullets, 3 bullets. Once I go to the end, I have more things here. I need to agree with that. I end the confirm submission. What's going to happen here is not final, but we are going to submit it. And submit means it was saved into the database. And we don't have a requirement to load or edit application, but I can show that we can like navigate away. We can navigate back to the new application, and we have the application, an empty application, but I can load the data previously saved just to show that I can retrieve the data that we just saved. Everything's going to be here as I submitted before. Cool. That's it, Michelle.
Great. Thank you, Sektori. A really good first iteration of this solution. So what Sektori also showed us there was the refactoring of the application. So basically, we took all the work that we did in the last time and moved it over to the new solution very quickly. And because it's so dynamic, it'll be very easy to move questions around. Okay. Pushan. Oh, Sandeep, you're here. Good. Awesome. I see you now. Hello, Sandeep. You are going to show us what happens when Zoe tries to log on with a basic BCID.
Yes. So what's going to happen is you're going to get some nasty phone calls and from CRA. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. So I'm going to first log in with Zoe's business ID. what you will notice here is that the buttons have been renamed to say that login with Business BC ID and sign up for Business BC ID to make it amply clear that it's only the Business BC IDs that are allowed in. But still, if someone tries to use their basic business ID, a basic BC ID, and so we'll see what happens. Okay, I'm going to continue. We're still on the BC ID pages here. We now hit our application page back where it says no such business account has been found with BC ID. Please log in with your business BC ID. Now, ideally, what should happen from here is that the user should be able to now click on the login button, input his right credentials with the business BC ID, and be getting access to the application. However, what we have found is that there are some integration issues with the identity manager. Just a second. There are some issues with the identity manager and BC ID integration where the logout function isn't working as we had hoped to. We already have a ticket open for it. So for the purposes of the demo, I'm going to show what happens when a business BC ID user actually logs in, and I'm going to do that by closing this browser and opening a new one. Sorry, wrong URL there. So now, when someone gives the business BC ID, I have the user credentials here. And he gets access to the application, and which then works as it would, it is expected to. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandeep. Schwenker, did you want to correct something I just said?
Sure. So one of the things there that we had was the refactoring the student profile page. I'll just quickly share my screen here since I did have it open here. As you see this page here, this is the student dashboard. I've just logged in. It's not super exciting because you've seen it before, but this student profile page here, this is also now a dynamic form. Basically the same thing as the application. So it looks basically the same, but it's now in a dynamic form fashion, not how it was before, basically hard-coded. That's it for that one.
Great, and institution user logs in, so do we want to, yeah.
Yeah, I can pull that up quick. I just need to bring up a user. Let me see here. Let me just close and reopen.
Sorry, Pushan, I know we had you tagged for this one, but Schwenker has his screen shared now, so.
Yeah, no problem.
If you want to share yours again, Pushan, you can, but I do have it open here. It's all good. So this is just logging in with somebody who did do the complete profile page before. And as you see here that they didn't get prompted for the completing your profile page, basically creating your account because it's already been created. There's obviously nothing here yet, but you've hit that. So that's the next part.
Thanks, guys. Okay, Elise, would you like to tell everyone what we're going to be focusing on in Sprint 7? You're on mute.
There we go. Okay, I haven't done that all week, just for the record. Okay, so what we're going to be focusing on for Sprint 7, we're going to continue down this technical path of building this. You'll hear it referred to as Forms AO, kind of behind the scenes piece. But at the same time, we've got some work that we're able to focus on now. we're going to start figuring out how are we going to have an integration with CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency. How are we going to integrate and connect with Equifax? And that's for the purpose of credit checks. And how are we going to integrate with ESDC? And integrate with ESDC basically means how are we going to integrate with National, the Canada Student Loan Program. So we still have some more infrastructure to be working on, that technical plumbing. We've still got some more of that to do. And the UX UI folks are going to be busy taking that workflow that Roop showed you in the beginning and starting to really clarify, how do we add users? How do we add locations? What does that really look like? So starting to get down to another level of detail there. And then now that we've got some idea around program, we're going to start to work on how do we collect program information? How do we organize it so that we can show a list to students of eligible programs? So there's going to be some other development stuff, but it depends on how much room those other things take up. And then we'll also make some decisions about some other tickets. We have that meeting this afternoon. So we meet every Wednesday afternoon after the demo. So I can't tell you exactly right now what those tickets look like, but it depends on how much space we have left over. That's what we're going to focus on for Sprint 7.
Awesome. Thank you, Elise. So now we move to our favorite part of the day, which is your chance to tell us how you're feeling, your fears, your excitements, your questions, comments. You have our ears right now.
Michelle, there are a couple questions in the chat. I'm wondering if we want to address those.
So I summarized it here. So we need to do our due diligence around the legal signing authority before they sign their designation agreement. I hope I summarized that correctly. There's been a lot of back and forth. It just seems like there needs to be a conversation spun up on that.
So that's the first one. And then the next question is around, is the attempt. So this is when Zoe tried to log in with her basic BCE ID and didn't, and wasn't able to. So that's a good question. I don't know, Andrew, can you take that? Or is that one of those things where it could, but we haven't built it yet?
Correct.
Ah.
Not currently.
Right. So right today, it is not logged. And we need to decide, do we need to log it? And if we do, we need to create a user story so it can be built.
Well, it says that on the button, though, on the main login screen, it says that on the button that login with business BCE ID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you will notice, just like the BC Services card, when you log in, it actually shows you a list of your last login. So it's quite a useful feature. Because if you go, no, I didn't log in there, but somebody did using your card or your credentials. So we'll have to take a look at that and see if we need more. But right now it doesn't save the login. And then the next question is, if only the business BCE ID is allowed, then BCE ID logon screen should say this. Yes. So yeah, there's going to be some messaging about how do we clarify, and there's going to be some pre-messaging that we'll need to work on.
Yeah.
Because not only,
Elise, it's Kirsten. Yeah, I wrote that. So it's nothing to do with your messaging. When BCE ID is configured and you hit that login screen, if only a business BCE ID is allowed to work with that application that's configured with BCE ID, then that's the only option presented. It says log in with your business BCE ID. It doesn't say log in with basic, personal, and business. So it's just a messaging that happens on the BCE ID, and it's nothing to do with you guys. But when it's configured, you see that. Right. So it's one of the nice features that BCE ID introduced probably a couple of years ago, where when you hit the login page, it actually told you what type of BCE ID was available, what could be used for that application. And it has to do with how you, like, you can set up your application to work with BCE ID, but there's also screens on the back end to do some additional configuration. And so I don't have access to those screens, but I don't. And none of our applications, I don't think, in the ministry actually have that configuration done on that back end. It's you just need to ask some questions there with BCE ID, and they'll answer. Okay.
Okay. All right. We'll follow up with them. We did have a really good session with BCEID, their director, and talked about different features and started to build some confidence in some of their processes. So I think we've established a really good beginning of a relationship there. So
yeah,
great.
Yeah, I'll
Thanks
send you a
for that.
screenshot. I'll send you a screenshot,
Sure.
and then you'll know exactly what I mean. Okay.
Great. Thank you. So any other questions about our process there? Anything that we've showed you? You don't have to type it in if you want to talk about it. That's fine too.
Feedback on the mural board, how you're feeling about the project 12 weeks in.
Yeah.
How's the pandemic going for you?
Very quiet. Very quiet. Anybody want to fill that space?
Nice, Courtney.
I was gonna say, let's in the chat, because everyone's near their keyboard, I would assume. Is it good quiet or bad quiet right now?
Yeah. Hard to tell.
Because we have no idea, and there's 60 people in here, and if there's 60 people in here who can't type, then that means you're not listening.
Oh, Rip.
It's Kirsten again. I threw something in chat and I can't spell the word acronym, so I my comment. So yeah, BCSC. I didn't know what that was until you guys spelled it out verbally. So BC Services Card should be, instead of an acronym, in that screen that has that BCSC.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's Dana. I was just going to say that maybe I missed a demo in there, but I feel like the application from the last time I saw it has come a million miles. I don't remember all those nice questions and things like that. So when you guys did that demo, I was very pleasantly surprised at how far it's come.
Yeah, so I want to respond to that one. They snuck a few sneaky questions in as they were practicing with the new solution, but we hadn't got to those user stories. So you may have saw questions about dependence, Dana, but we haven't actually taken a deep dive into those requirements yet. So maybe they're close, but I just wanted to let you know that they gold-plated that one.
Well, I liked it. It looked great. It looked really good.
Just to be fair, we just did that because if it's like, if you need to remove, it's like a 1 minute job, literally.
Yeah, and I almost told them to remove it.
Yeah.
But you notice, Dana always notices.
Well, even visually, the quality of the questions, the last time I saw it was just like 2 or 3 words for a question. Now the questions seem to be a better worded, and I don't know. I was just really happily surprised when I saw the screen. So nice job.
Thanks, Dana.
Yeah, and I think what people are starting to see is just the significant change that we're going to go through, but so much improved, so much more intuitive and hopefully straightforward. So hopefully we can spend more of our time helping people with these big issues rather than helping with small data management issues or technical issues, right? So that's really great. So I'm seeing lots of thumbs up, that kind of stuff in the chat. I don't think there's anything major. So I mean, we're going to interpret that we're on the right track. And the other thing too is just to let folks know, if you're not feeling comfortable and you don't want to necessarily put that out in front of 60 people, understandable, especially if everyone else is happy and you're not, that's fine. It's totally normal. Please drop me a line, give me a call, reach out through the mod. Find a way to have your voice heard, because if you're feeling like there's something not quite right, you're probably not the only one, and we may have missed something. Let's or we're just not there yet. That's the other thing too, right? We may not be there yet. So so totally appreciate that, and just really want open and honest feedback. That's great.
Yeah. Okay, thanks everyone. So it's 2 minutes to 11. So enjoy your free half hour.
Yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks. And just to plug for folks, next week, I'll put it in the invite, but for our regular business meeting next Wednesday, the lab is going to come and do a presentation about Agile 101. So it'll be a great opportunity to learn more. And if you're really into it, we can also get you into some more training around Agile as well. So please come and listen in. It's an interesting process.
Thanks for that reminder, Elise. That was a request from the business to have that. So it's good to have the heads up so folks who were interested in that particular information come and attend. And I just want to comment and say thanks so much. Love these opportunities to see all the amazing work that's happening. And I too will echo Dana's comments. The application looks really cool. And I was excited to see all the development on that side as well. And when particularly where there is an instance where the field was left blank and you can click on the message and go straight to where you need to be, that's just so exciting. So thanks so much, team.
Thanks, Rebecca. Awesome.
Great.
All right.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
all. Thank you.
Thank you.